Samantha Kemp Jackson joins us now. She's a blogger. Her blog is called Multiple Mayhem Mama. Good morning.
Good morning.
And you earned it.
I did.
You have 4 kids?
Yes. My oldest is grown. I have a 9-year-old and I have 2 3-year-old identical twin boys.
And you're still smiling.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm crazy.
Slash standing.
Multiple mayhem. That's
It is mayhem and it is multiple, so hey, you might as well run with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just throw your arms up and go with it.
Roll with it. Yes.
So we're talking about different kinds of parenting pressures. One of the things, as we were just saying during the break, that is sort of morphing and changing for me with a 6-year-old is the play date.
Yes, yes.
And, you know, the pressure to set them up, but also then, do you know the parents? Are you sending them? Are you having them back? It's almost like when you have couples for dinner.
It is.
And you have to reciprocate.
It's a dinner party, and you know, it's a little bit of a dance that you do with other parents. So, you know, there's a number of rules that I follow just in terms of play dates, just to kind of keep things cool. So one of them is know thy enemy. So know who the parents are, because I personally wouldn't send my child to a house that I had never gone to before. You wouldn't put your child in the middle of the street alone, so I always make sure that I know where my child is going, and I always make sure that I liaise with the parents. So I want to have at least a discussion with them. I'm always really surprised when I have a child dropped up at my house by somebody that I've never met before, never had a conversation with, who doesn't want to know anything about me. So.
People at home might be thinking, that's crazy, but I just had this happen to me like this week where a kid wanted to have my kid over, and so he comes home and goes, I'm going to this kid's house. I'm like, I don't know that kid.
No, I don't think that's happening.
Hold on a second. Yeah, and so, you know, I asked for the parents' phone number, and we're going to talk and all that sort of thing, and then we'll set up the play date.
This is all so strategic.
It's completely, it's like the art of war.
Yeah, case the joint is your next tip.
It completely is. So again, going back to knowing where your child is going, I think it's the onus is on the parents to have the due diligence to make sure that the child is in a safe environment, is in an environment where you agree with the type of parenting that's going. Because there's so many different types of parenting styles. What if you don't agree? What if there's a discipline issue? What if, you know, the parents want to discipline your child differently than you would, or discipline them at all? Maybe you're not comfortable with your child being disciplined by, you know, another parent. So there's so many issues, and I think it's really important for parents to look into that first.
Now, do you just be totally upfront and explain, look, I just want to find this out? Because you got to be sort of subtle with your approach. Sometimes people may get offended by you asking too many questions, but at the same time, you do have to ask them.
You do have to ask the question, and I'm not that subtle just because I feel like I'm not offended when people ask me, hey, I'd like to come over and meet you and have a coffee with you and see what you're like. I think that's great because I respect that parent because they have the same values as me. Now, if I ask a parent, hey, can we have a coffee? Can I come over? And they're a little bit sketchy about it, then that's actually a red flag to me, because I think, well, if you're open about having a play date with me, you know, I'd be more likely to send my child over. If you're not, then maybe it's not a good idea.
Okay, this is my question. This is all sounding so much like a relationship to me. So how do you break up with a parent if it's not going well? It's not you, not me.
You know, it's actually a really interesting point, Chris, because oftentimes, you know, there's all these different permutations of play dates. Your child might not like the child that they had a play date with before. All of a sudden, they're not friends. You know, you don't like the other parent. You don't agree with their parenting style. The child doesn't want to go over there. There's all these different things. So oftentimes, you just have to be honest. I've often said to other parents, you know what? My daughter and so-and-so are not getting along right now, so perhaps it's not a good time to have a play date. And kids are fickle. They go back and forth, and they'll become friends again.
So I'm wondering, so when you take your kid to the play date, and you're like, you know what, this is fine. I like the parent. I like the child. Drop them off. Can you go get your hair done, do a movie, go to a movie and say, that's it. Now, you know, they can be the parent for the next 2 hours, or do you have to make yourself available?
Well, theoretically, you can. Now, I'm at the point with certain parents who have become friends of mine because we do share the same values, that I'm very comfortable taking my daughter over and saying, here, have a great time, have a play date. My daughter's having a play date tonight after school with a parent that I quite like, who's of similar values as me, so I don't worry about that. Now, going back to doing your due diligence, if I had never met the parent before, or if I had just met them once, I'm not sure. You know, it's kind of like you have to take every case as a case-by-case basis.
There's all sorts of different things, though, that come into your world and into your child's world. How do you deal with the pressures of, let's say, technology, where other kids maybe have a cell phone, depending on the age, or, you know, all of those different sorts of things, and maybe you're not as comfortable with that? How do you explain that to your kid?
Well, again, you know, it comes back to the shared values. So when you do your due diligence and you do first go to the parent's house and you see that the child is playing video games for hours on end, or, you know, you see that it's a very tech-savvy household and that's maybe not where you're at, that's where you maybe would make the decision that you don't have your child go over for a play date. You can also say to the parents, you know, I'd really, really like them to do something outside or go in the backyard or play games, or ask the parent, what do you have planned for the children during this play date time? Do you know what you're going to be doing? And that's a really good opportunity to have a discussion with the parents about whether or not you're in sync with what your children are doing.
How often do these play dates happen? Do you like to do them once a week, or is that too much?
There's no set time frame, but I will tell you, as your kids go from the age of 3 to 9, they're more frequent, so just get ready. I know you have a little one, so just get ready.
Yeah, two. It's already crazy. But
Yes.
a question about discipline. You sort of touched on it. What is your rule when it comes to discipline? Let's say you're the host of a
Yes.
play date. The other kid is acting up, not treating your kid necessarily very well. How do you respond? You call the parent? Do you speak to the child? How do you do it?
Well, it's a matter of degree, Anthony. So I think that, again, the shared values, I would never, you know, my form of discipline is talking to a child, maybe a timeout. I would never hit a child or spank them, because I don't hit or spank my children. And I would expect the same in the household of the person that my child is going to. And again, that's part of the discussion that you would have with the parent beforehand. How would you like me to handle this? Conversely, I teach my child, when you're in someone else's house, you follow their rules. And so whatever those rules are, obviously they're going to be in keeping with what your rules are, because you've already discussed it with the parent.
Right.
So there shouldn't be too many problems, hopefully, unless the parent completely changes to another Jekyll and Hyde person when you're not there. And that's a whole other topic.
Right. Who knew?
Lots to deal with.
Play date
I
minefield.
know. I mean, it's for you guys. I'm just watching on the
You will be
periphery over
there
here.
too one
Yeah.
day.
I know. That's what I'm told. That's what I'm told.
Samantha Kemp Jackson, and her blog is Multiple Mayhem Mama. Good to see you. Thank
Thank you very much for having me.
Just about